All right, we're back again. We're going to be reviewing a documentary this time to start off with. Something that hopefully you've seen on your For You pop up on Netflix. It's The Volcano. So stay tuned. So we're here with Mikayla, and we're going to talk about a very interesting documentary that just came out, The Volcano. So, what did you think about it?
Well, my first impression, well, first of all, I watched it when I was sick. So I'm sure that definitely influenced the way that I watched it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, I think I think it was really interesting. I mean, I don't know. Like my first initial reaction was kind of just like, why would you go on a volcano in the first place?
Right.
I kind of
Right.
just didn't understand the whole concept of like, but most people that were interviewed were like adventure seekers and like adrenaline junkies. So like I
Right.
get that, but at the same
For
time,
like geologists,
right.
is that a lot of people went to see that.
But then like if you're a geologist, I just feel like you should know like if you start to see something smoke up like that, maybe run or something. I don't,
I thought big signs were like when they were saying that they were at the crater and that normally the lake is like this pristine, like blue, like crystal clear, and it was like white from ash falling back down and debris. I was
Right.
like, okay, that should have been a sign.
Or even like how the water was extremely choppy that day or something like that. They
Right,
said
right,
like
right, right, right.
as soon as I got on that boat, I would have turned around if the water was acting up like that. Like, I just feel like it was
Right,
kind of
because
almost
it's all
obvious.
kind of pulled together. It's all
Exactly.
shifting of the plates underneath.
Right. Like, if any of the conditions are not what they usually are, I feel like
Right.
time to go. Like, do not go. It's a volcano. Like,
And
it's
they
not.
used a lot of the guidance from, their guides that were there, and it pulls back to the same thing. Yeah, somebody that had never been there might not have picked up on that. But those people are there every
They
day.
knew it from the
Like,
back of their hands. Like, from
they
the
should
back
have
of their hands.
noticed, like,
This is
something is askew. I think we need to go
go
back.
back. Exactly.
Like,
You would think. And like even that, like and if they didn't like pick up on any of the signs, then you should not be a tour guide. Like I feel like you should not be an
right.
uneducated tour
Not on
guide.
something as potentially
Dangerous
dangerous as
as a
that.
volcano.
Right.
Right. Like
You're
you're
like, this
taking
isn't like a
people.
roller coaster at Six Flags. Like, come on now.
Right, and it's not it was like multiple trips that day too. Like I
Mm-hmm.
just feel like if you're doing that many trips, I'm bringing that many people to a place like that, at least know like the warning signs of when
Well,
it's
I
gonna
felt really
erupt.
bad because the husband and wife that had like the most atrocious
Burns.
burns. I mean, that was hard to live through. And to be, newlyweds. I mean, talk about like testing the waters of marriage.
I mean, not to
Um,
shit on their relationship or anything, but honeymoon to a volcano is not my ideal
well, they didn't do the
vacation
volcano to
spot.
there. That was just one of the activities to sort
Right.
of do when you're in New
New
Zealand
Zealand.
on the
Right.
cruise is what they got.
Hmm.
Um, but she said that they mentioned like I don't know if she asked or they were just like information like before the trip. They had said the last times that it went off were 6 years ago
And then,
and 3 years ago,
right.
and she was like, "Well,
We're
that
just
means
about that time.
we're 3 minutes. What's happening here? This is a pattern. What is
Right.
happening?
Yeah,
Like
it
the
was
fact
going
that
in
like
increments. Like, it was very
that
clear
it's
that
like a
it's like
pretty clear
a habitual
pattern. There's
eruption.
signs going on. I don't understand how somebody involved did not question what they were seeing.
And more so, like the wife was explaining like how she was kind of getting like a feeling that there was like something wrong. Like like when you just kind of have the
Right.
intuition. And like for her husband was like, well, she's just like a ball of nerves all the time, so I just brushed it off. Well, and then your back got burnt off. So maybe trust your wife's intuition.
Well, true, but it is. I mean, that is atrocious, especially when they had like the live film from survivors there, the footage and like um the voiceover for that. It was intense
No,
to
I thought it
watch.
was gonna erupt again.
Like
I thought
I
because the
did.
smoke did not like clear the way that they like described it to
Right.
supposed to have cleared. I was like, it's going to erupt again. Like, they're all gonna just get wiped out. I felt especially bad for that boy who lost his sister and his parents.
That was really sad.
Watched his mom die, watched his dad struggle, and couldn't even find his sister to begin with. They never
Right.
recovered her body.
No.
And I mean, I feel like that's just the worst of everything. Like, I would be absolutely
I
destroyed.
mean, when he was describing about how he had to like get up and make a conscious decision to walk away from his parents and his sister to go get help and to be so close to that one guy and hear him saying like, "Oh, nope, I think we're all
like, we're leaving.
let's wrap it
Like,
up."
there's nothing
Like
else.
that is like if he doesn't start doing TED Talks or something, I just don't know. All these other people sit down. Like, did you
trauma.
survive a volcano eruption and lose
Your whole
majority of your family?
Whole
Yeah, like what's happening?
What I found actually like extremely interesting was that like the paramedics did not have like any type of special like treatment in their first aid kits compared to the first aid kits they already had on the boat. Like when they said they called the paramedics on, they didn't like offer any type of like
Well,
help really. Like it was just another body on there. They couldn't do anything special.
I mean, yes and no. A small aspect of that is that when you consider to the level in which their burns were,
right,
unless you were at a hospital, you wouldn't have that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, so it wasn't necessarily that their boxes were so inefficient. It was just that what was happening was so big. That's like saying, you know, we have a bunch of gauze, but if I have 10 shots on my body, it's not enough. Right. Yeah. So that's sort of where that came from. I mean, I got that he, you know, used the box and was doing water, which I just don't even know if that was smart either.
I mean, they didn't show the severity of the burn, so I can't really be like, well, I feel like there could be like a burn cream they could have tried, or like, because you just really don't know.
I wouldn't have tried anything, but just from being burnt, and not to compare my simple little burns in the kitchen to anything that they went through, because that was incredible, to say the least. But everyone knows you don't put something cold drastically on something that was burnt.
Right.
Because you shock the skin, and if you put something cold, you're shocking it again. You actually make like the burn worse. So I don't know why he would do that.
I really just, I mean, I feel like, I mean, I've never been in a situation like that, obviously, but like I feel like once you're in that situation,
salt, like there's salt water.
That part I was like,
I didn't understand it.
Bad. But I think when you're just like a regular civilian and you're just trying,
he was trained.
That guy was. Oh, he was the trained
guy
and his daughter.
Yeah. That's why I was like, I don't understand.
Because I mean, if I was a civilian and I saw someone burnt that way, I would obviously like try to help any way that I could, even if it was wrong. Like I would try.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know. Maybe he knows something that we don't about it.
Breaking news: salt water is
burns.
I don't know. I mean,
I think a good like. I think I don't.
Because he said like they were screaming and in agony. Well, maybe it's in the salt water, sir. Stop with the salt water.
Raw skin, like putting it on their exposed skin.
Right.
That would hurt me.
And not only that, but you think you're in the sun as well. I don't know. They didn't show too much of the boat itself. But it felt like they were on the outside, which I don't understand why as well. Like you get injured people.
I think one of them were.
I don't know why they didn't have them go inside though, because they had all the people. So when they were on the boat, they tell them to all get inside when they saw it was like a lot of smoke and stuff.
Right.
And then they went and they got the people in the boat. I would have shifted and been like, "You healthy people, get on the outside, burn people inside."
Because the sun is just one of the most damaging things.
Because then you put salt water, the salt dries up, the salt with the sun, I would assume it's just like when you go to the beach and you get like a more harsh tan.
Yeah.
Salt in the water speeds up the burning.
I don't think it really set in for me how like drastic their injuries were until the end when they were in comas for years or months and like they didn't get out of the hospital. They had to do all these rehabs. Like I didn't realize like how dangerous their burns actually were until I saw
and the comas, they basically do that just so your body
can heal and like
so that your body does not put out alarms, essentially going into shock from the pain.
Right.
So I get that. I mean, that
I
people
just would
are
have
more
never known.
commonly actually put into like induced comas
Comas.
more than you think
Yeah.
with trauma and things like that. That's not shocking because the burns were so severe. What's shocking is the fact that like the one guy that like walked off the husband that walked off the boat and stuff, and he had worse burns than she did.
Yeah.
Like,
It's really the person. Like when you're in like a state. Like one time I was in like a car accident and it was me and my five cousins and I was the oldest of the five, but I was only like 11, so I was in the passenger seat and we got rear-ended and like off the road.
oh wow.
And I hit my head on the dashboard and I like got knocked out, but I somehow woke up at one point and got out of the car. And it's like I didn't cry or scream or anything. Like, I just called the cops and I was
Yeah,
very calm. So I think it just depends on the person. Like in a situation like that, like you just act a certain way.
true. If
Especially
people
when
do
you know that
kind
there's
of,
other people that you have to look out for because they can't look out for themselves. Like in that
yeah,
case, his wife was in a more like frantic state than he was, so he had to be the calm
right,
part of the
right,
duo.
right. And I felt bad for Tiffany's, what was his grandmother or her mother?
Grandmother. He wasn't even supposed to work that day. It
I
was his
know.
grandmother. That
That
was
really
awful.
sucked. I mean, anybody that lost their lives there was tragic, but
Oh, absolutely. I wish
things
they
a little
kind
bit
of.
more when you weren't even supposed to be there.
I feel like in the whole thing, I wish they would have covered like the chemicals, like the way that the chemicals would affect them. Because I'm sure that it did. I'm sure it had like longer
Oh,
term like
absolutely.
effects, but I don't think they covered that like as much. And I feel like that would have been really interesting. So like, I guess no, because when a volcano erupts, the chemicals they release are just
So
so.
I think
It was
some of
sulfur or
that,
something else.
I think some of that was a little bit of, you know how like at the end they put a blurb on to how many people actually died,
Right, and how
all
many
their
was like injured
names,
and stuff.
and the fact that nobody had admitted guilt to that.
Hmm.
I think that had to do with that. If they started naming like what chemicals were off of the island itself, I feel like you get more into who's
Like
actually to
liable.
fault. Mm-hmm.
Right. Who
So,
do you think is at fault? Like, I
um,
mean, I feel like there's a few parties, but if you had to place the blame on one,
I would say top of the list, the charter, the company that was taking people there,
right?
because yes, it's nature. Just like the one chick that was like, no, I'm still gonna live my life to the edge, and it's very easy for her to say that when she did not have the biggest loss.
Right.
Like, obviously when you looked at like the son that lost the sister and the mom and dad,
He's probably never doing something like that
he
again.
clearly said, I do, still continue to do things and push things to the limit, but with a calculated risk.
Right.
And that's sort of what I think they took away from them.
Was the calculation because they didn't
Right.
give them any. I don't know what was in that contract. I know they had to sign a contract before going or something like that. But
Most definitely you had to sign something.
but I'm sure that like I don't think they were really aware of what the dangers were if something were to go wrong, and I don't think that there was enough. They like if you like listen to the documentary, for all of the tour guides, they said I gave a brief safety thing. Da da da. I think it was too brief because none of them knew what to do if something were to go wrong.
Well, the problem is, I don't know, it's sort of the scenario of like the egg and the chicken, right? So you can say you're prepared for an eruption, but until something actually like that happens,
Yeah.
and you see what would happen or what is best suited for scenarios like that, you kind of don't know. So like now, it's probably immensely high, list of things for them to do before allowing somebody to do that, but they don't allow anybody on the island now.
I could assume so. I mean,
Yeah, because they said that the island was closed to visitors since then. They don't allow visitors on the island, which I don't think that's the wisest thing about it either. But I think they should be more in depth. Like, how you have different people that follow eruptions and seismic energy, etc.
Right.
I don't know why that wasn't a part of that. Like, why are you not? They
I
have
don't
like
think they
the
were following
geo
it at all.
a little bit. I mean, they had cameras and stuff there
Right.
looking at the mountain itself.
But they seem to just
So I
ignore them
don't
anyways.
understand
Like,
why there wasn't more data. Again, I don't think they sort of got into that, and it might have been there, but they didn't want to go down the road of like
I feel
muddy
like,
waters of
right.
either they're saying it's their fault or being liable because they were saying
It was very clear that the whole documentary was purely about the survivors' stories. Like, it was
that.
not
Right,
to be like who's at fault or try to get like into any of the actual details about why this happened and why like it
right,
unraveled the way that it did.
right.
So I don't think we'll ever know.
I don't know. I mean, that's just.
However, the way that
Wow.
they ran the rescue, like the rescue team, what were they called? People that were supposed to come and help, but then decided that it was too difficult or too dangerous and
So
decided
that was
against it.
the police.
The police, yeah, they
Which,
need to be held accountable for something.
well, so when I first heard about the volcano, Tracy actually said something to me the very next day and was like, "Oh, you need to watch this." And I said, "Oh, trust girl, it's on the list."
We're
Um,
on it.
but she was like, "Cause I watched it, it was so good, and these people they didn't want to go out there and da da da." There are a lot of moving factors in something like this. By boat, it takes an hour and a half to get there.
Right.
So you have to kind of calculate, if they would have sent 20 ships out there, it would have all been late.
I
Like,
mean, I
that would
feel
have
like
been
the
wasteful if they had their people stay on land. People are already bringing the people back. Like, some of that stuff was
I don't
calculated.
mean more so like the ships and stuff, or like even really sending a rescue team. But when the other two guys with the helicopters did go to the island and like
Right.
he communicated with them and they said that they were going to come for with help or something, and then they called back and were like, actually, our police commissioner said we're not allowed. Those guys were there for like 30, 45 minutes waiting for help when they could have just
Yeah.
been doing it themselves the whole time, knowing that you
Yeah.
weren't coming. Like, I feel like the communication was probably a bit off. And
Yeah.
also, if you can't send a whole team, then whoever, like any paramedics that wanted to go or any of the equipment that you had, you should have just sent with the two guys that was going anyway. Like, since they decided
Well,
volunteered that they
because
were going to go.
they didn't leave from that site. They left from like
A
this other
different one.
site.
I mean, they probably should
So
have asked
they
for
were not
equipment,
expecting to be
the ones who rescued them.
right.
They were
They
just
weren't
scoping
expecting
it
that at
out.
all. They were just saying, let's get over there and see what's happening so we can kind of pass on information because we can get there faster.
Right.
So I get sort of that weirdness. I don't understand, like, they were doing the boats. A lot of them got on that first boat. Did the second boat just not work?
Second boat was just really small. There were two boats. It was like the Tupua. I'm butchering that, but
And the
you know what I'm talking
Phoenix.
about. And then the Phoenix. Pretty sure the Phoenix was the bigger boat.
Right, that was the
That
one
took
that.
the majority of
Right.
the people, and then people stayed back, volunteered to stay back and look for rescuers. And I think whoever they found,
They
which
put
was
on a
that
small
boy
boat.
that left his family,
Yeah.
they put on that boat. And
Hayden.
they
Or
came
not
back.
Hayden. Hayden was the one that passed away. Which I felt like in his stuff, like, Hayden was in that film. Like,
Yes.
Hayden was there.
Yeah.
With the boy.
In that group. Well, that would make the most sense because that group's the one that was right at the crater. So most of them are the ones that got wiped out immediately.
But when they were doing recap footage, I feel like the footage of when he was looking and he heard somebody, or maybe that was a reenactment, but I don't remember seeing something underneath there saying that that part was reenacted. I swore that was like original film, like from their whatever. And to me, it looked like the Hayden guy. So I don't understand how he didn't get on the second boat.
Maybe he was like still looking.
Because
I don't know.
I knew Tiffany was dead because all the other survivors were talking.
And he was not.
Right. So I read that from the beginning, like, okay, bet.
And also,
He's
the
gonna die.
grandmother did talk in like past, when referring to him,
Uh-huh.
but Hayden's brother did not talk. He
No.
was talking as though like he was still alive, just didn't want to be on camera or
Right,
something.
right, right,
Because the
right,
way
right,
that he
right.
was like,
So I was
Hayden is
expecting,
adventurous, Hayden is this, Hayden is
right.
that.
When
So
I saw the footage there, I swore like he was gonna be there.
when he seemed like the strongest, you know, tour guide there, like the one that knew
Right,
the most and like knew his way around the best. He
right.
was he was
Especially if
there
they
the
were saying
longest.
we're gonna wrap up. Like I don't understand
I
that.
don't
It
know.
didn't make sense
Well,
to me.
whoever said that we were going to wrap up obviously did not do a very good look. I mean, I guess I can't blame them. They probably didn't want to go back in, but I don't think they looked at all because
I don't think they went closer to the crater. But in their defense, I believe why somebody would be hesitant to
to
go
go so.
closer.
No, absolutely.
Like
I mean, that would have to be a
you probably
definite.
passed like 5 or 6 dead people. You're probably like, all right,
Okay,
everybody's dead, or you'll
I'm gonna
probably
go.
just say, hey, is anybody back there? If nobody responds,
Then
it's
you're
not.
out.
I don't want to say it's not worth your looking, but
At
you
that
gotta
point, it
kind of
becomes
make a
risking your
decision,
life to go,
right?
and you have to make that decision.
But that's the thing. That same kind of decision is where the police kind of had to make that decision as well.
Right.
Like, we don't know if this is going to erupt again. Is it worth sending more people if they're telling me on the phone thing that there's only a bunch of people, they're going to put them on their planes?
Right.
It's not worth sending someone else out.
Right.
I don't know, but what
I
a
mean,
mess.
as a police force, I mean, obviously they make very difficult decisions, and I'm sure
Yeah.
many of them. I mean, I'm sure none of them were really happy with the decision. I mean, they
Right.
signed up to risk their life, so it's like, but
I mean, you
it's just one of
do,
those
but
things.
it's not like that's like downtown, something happened. Like,
Oh no,
this is on a
absolutely.
remote island that people are choosing to
To
fly
fly
out
out
to and ride their boat out to at a live volcano. I don't think that's on the normal task
Well, it's
of
also like the way they
sworn
start the
in for the
documentary
police.
off.
I also protect and serve the idiots going to the volcano site.
I
So I
mean,
can see where, like, it'd be pretty tight.
right.
They might have even said, like, hey, do we have any volunteers to go there? If they don't, no, we're not going.
But they did show up like at the shore, like all the first responders did make their way like to
Right.
greet everyone who was coming in
Right,
to
right,
make
right.
sure they could do their job there.
That is
But
rough. Ah, that whole thing was rough. I felt so bad for them. It was hard to watch.
well, even like the husband, I don't remember his name, but he was saying like it was literally just 2 minutes. It was only 2 minutes, and the damage was literally irreparable. Like
Right.
it was they'll live with that for the rest of their lives.
Insane.
Even the guy, I forget who that was, but he jumped in the water. It was one of the younger tour guides. He was
Yeah.
like, everyone just get in the water. I could never imagine like, well, water's not water, like as a whole is one of my fears, but like drowning or things like that. Like I could never imagine being underwater and just seeing complete black. Like I think I'd have a panic. I think I'd die.
That's
I
the
would
hard
die.
thing for me.
Is the seeing the black and not knowing
Like,
where you
yeah.
are or what's going on or who's
And then when
around
he
you.
said he, like, swam towards the light and then the light went dark.
I would lose it right then. Like right then, I would lose it. But also, like you
Yeah.
have to open your eyes under the water. There's so much ash in there. You don't. It's salt water to begin with. Like it's not
Right,
an
right,
easy
right,
thing to
right,
stay
right.
afloat in, and it's not
No.
an easy thing to open your eyes to see like if there's any light like on the surface. Like that was not an easy task. Like not an
No.
easy task at all.
And to be doing that all, well, at the pivotal point of death, essentially. Like,
I mean, I see how that was the best option, like at the point, but I think like if I was on that island and I saw that water, I don't think I'd go in it. I don't think I could.
and the fact that the eruption wasn't even that bad on the scale of eruptions.
Right.
Because it could have been a lot worse.
Well,
It
that
could have been
video
actual, like,
specifically-
straight up lava and, like,
Well, I forget
like
what
what
they
people
called
think
it.
of it.
They called it a specific. It was like a strato something volcano.
Right, right,
so
right.
it doesn't erupt lava. It only erupts that stuff.
The steam.
The steam, but it's like acidic steam. Like it's like sulfuric steam.
Right.
Like obviously, like the steam is what burned them.
Right,
Not
right.
even like the heat. It was the steam because it burned. It didn't burn their clothes. It went right through their clothes and seeped into their skin.
Right.
So, I mean, it can erupt lava, but
I was just
I
like,
don't
oh
know.
my
I think I'd
gosh.
rather take my chances with the lava. At
And
least I
I
can learn
thought too
from
when
it.
they were talking about like, oh, they said touch the water. I thought they were gonna get a clue and the water was gonna be like super, super hot. And they were like, oh, I thought something was wrong because the water was super hot. And here they were just like, no, we tasted it. I could taste the
No, I
minerals.
can't. Yeah, I can't believe they tasted the water. I would never taste a water on a volcanic island. I don't think I could do that.
Well,
I'm weird about my water.
if
I'm
you
weird
were
about my water.
into like
Not into it.
geology and rocks and like that would make sense to you.
I'm
Like it's a
into like
stream, like let's taste it, like it's
I'm
technically
into like
clean
natural
water.
disasters, like volcanic eruptions, but not into the volcano itself. Like not into like let me go see it and like
So there's
touch it.
actually volcanic water. Have you seen that?
No.
It's how do you pronounce it? Waikai or something. It's in like this blue bottle. You can get it at
People drink it.
yeah,
Why?
it's actually really good.
What does it
It's like
taste? Is it like
filtered
sweet?
through no, it's like filtered through the volcanic rocks.
Mmm.
Yes.
Delicious. I don't see the appeal.
Volcano water. Let's see. It's from in Hawaii though.
Well,
But you can get it
if you
here.
said it was Hawaiian volcano water, I'd be like, yes, let me
Yes.
get a taste of Hawaii. But if you were like, it's like
What's
New
the difference?
Zealand volcano water, I would
No.
not take it.
They're
I'm
both
not-
volcanoes.
No,
What are you talking?
it's
What?
where the volcano is located. Hawaii just has a positive connotation attached to it. When I think Hawaii,
Except for
I
the
think
eruptions
flower.
there as well.
I don't know about those. I'm not educated on them, so therefore, positive connotation, positive water. I would drink it.
So you'll take the Hawaii
I'll
water.
take the Hawaiian water.
Okay, well, it's pretty expensive, but it's good.
That's so interesting.
It's-
What's good about it? Like, it
it's
tastes
so-
good or it's good for you?
It's good for you too,
Yeah.
because it's like naturally filtered.
I
So
am
it
a
is
water,
actually
like,
really good.
enthusiast. I do love my water. But
What's your favorite water?
you know what water I don't like? And this is weird of me.
Fiji.
Yeah. Fiji water I think is disgusting. I could if you put like water in glasses and one of them was Fiji, I could point it out to you and I'd throw it at you. It's disgusting.
Fiji is. It tastes almost heavy.
It tastes expensive. It tastes expensive and it's gross. It's not
even
even expensive.
It's like heavy. Like too much stuff is in it or something. It's like weird. And then I don't like Dasani water either.
I don't like Dasani either. I don't even know what type
Dasani
of
water is horrible. Dasani water is owned by Coke. And like they did like this huge thing like I don't know, maybe might even be like 10-15 years ago now.
10, 15.
Yes.
I was
But
too young.
they did like this big push like when Coke first put out Dasani water.
I
You
had no
had
idea
it
was owned by Coke.
you had it all over the place. Like just you'd see a Coke machine right next to it be a Dasani water machine. Like it was
I can
crazy.
still see that.
Yeah. So then they did this huge comparison and they basically put Dasani water as the same as tap water
Ew.
for like the contains of chlorine and chemicals and all that stuff. It was basically the same as your tap water. So places were just like pulling machines back out. Like they were like, get rid of this water. Nobody wants this water. It's trash. Get it out. And it was like silent. You didn't see a commercial. You didn't see anything for Dasani for like 10 years. It was just silent.
I never liked Dasani. I mean, I would
It's so
choose,
bad.
but also like I'm a sucker for like the tops that you can like open and like top
Yes,
them
yes,
out like
yes.
that. I like those tops, but I also have my anxiety about them now, so it doesn't matter. But I like if it was a Dasani water bottle and it had that top over like a water bottle that didn't, I would choose it, despite it being a tap water. But
Oh, I
other
just
than that,
don't like it. It just
I don't like
tastes like
Dasani. I don't like Fiji. I do like Deer Park, but then like when I hear natural spring water, I don't know what that's about. I don't like that. I just don't like the fact that it's spring water. I don't like the way they word it or advertise it. And the
because
fact
they
that
come
it's
from a
called,
spring.
I don't like that. What's that about? What's in the spring along with my water?
This
that
is
I'm
technically
drinking?
spring water as well.
Yeah, I read it.
Deer Park.
Yeah, but why? Like, what is in the spring? Why is it spring water? Like, what's
All water
different?
comes from like
But what's this?
Underwater.
But they
Underwater.
this is filtered, right? But
Underground.
this says
Yes.
100% natural spring water. It doesn't say it's filtered.
Right.
So what does that mean? Like
It
there's
is
piss in that
it's
spring?
filtered by the rocks. And it's
Rocks don't
adding
filter.
minerals to
Rocks are not a Brita. They don't filter.
they
It's a
are.
rock. It's
That's
a
part of
rock.
it's not just like a random rock from your
It's a
yard.
rock.
It's
It's a fucking rock. I wouldn't want to drink anything filtered by a rock.
but
It's
this
gonna
is
come out
like
tasting like shit.
it's not something that's
It's
like
gonna be
as fast
grainy.
as like a Brita filter. Like it's something that's taken years for like Earth to naturally filter something.
No, I don't like Earth's natural filtering system. I prefer a different type of system, and it's called the Brita.
The
And
Br-
you can buy it at your local Target, Acme, anything really. They
or
sell them
BJ's. That's
everywhere.
where I got
I
mine.
got mine at Target in Florida. I don't live there anymore. But anyways,
I
I
am
support a
big on the
Brita.
Brita.
And they also have like Brita water bottles, like just like my anxiety one, like a Brita one though. So like it filters it like in your water
Oh, that's a
bottle.
little too intense.
No, listen, I'm all for it. I mean, I don't have one, but I'm all for it.
I don't know about
Whatever
that.
works for you.
I could just like imagine myself like carrying a Brita pitcher with me everywhere. I just don't think I could do that.
I love my Brita.
I just keep it at home.
I have like a blue one right now, but I want a pink one. I haven't seen one.
Oh, I have pink one. They're at
Oh,
BJ's.
okay.
There's well, it's like magenta, but it is
That's
very
fine.
cute.
As long as it's like a shade of pink, I'm okay with it. That is okay.
Yes.
What other types of water even are there?
What kind of what?
Types of water. I
We
don't
have
know.
like
I think I only drink Deer Park. Really, I don't think I have. Like I drink another one.
I'm big onto Deer Park. I do like it. I'll even do like a BJ's bottled water, but I watched this documentary on water.
That must have put you to sleep real fast.
No.
Was it a bedtime tactic?
No, 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 no.
I watched the volcano before bed and then I had a nightmare. So, if you are watching the volcano, watch it in the morning, preferably between 8 and like
Right.
12.
Here at the end of part one, we've now reviewed the volcano in depth. Everyone that I talked to sort of has a different opinion on whose fault they think it was. A lot of people could have made different decisions. At the end of the day, it was a tragedy that not sure if it could have been 100% foreseen, but a very big guide to pay attention to the small details because they matter. Stay tuned for part two.